Hello everyone. In today's lecture, first we would have a review on our scenario. I choose a different scenario from which we have used for Radius to teach you another usage of these protocols. After that, we would configure our switch, and at the final level, we would configure our ACS. Let's jump in. Our scenario. In this lecture, I want to teach you how to use TechX Plus for authenticating your network managers when they want to log into these devices through Telnet or SSH. Consider a network with a bunch of devices. For example, you may have 50 switches, 10 routers, 2 firewalls, and many other devices in your network. What would you do for authenticating your users when they want to log into these devices? One way is that you define different username and password in the local database of these devices. However, this solution could be challenging in enterprise networks, especially because maintaining the document which stores passwords could be very challenging. Is there any other way for authenticating users in enterprise networks? Yes, there is. You could use ACS server and TechX Plus for this situation. In this scenario, you could define your username and password in the ACS server, and anytime the user wants to log into device and manage it, tell the switch or other devices to ask the ACS server about the authority for logging in. So when the user wants to connect to the switch and manage it, the switch stops the user, asks the ACS server about the username and password, and if the ACS server's answer is 2 thumbs up, the switch allows the user to log into it and do the management job. Let's do our settings. Switch configuration. Like the Radius scenario, I want to emphasize that I just do the required commands for implementing the ACS authentication with TechX Plus, not even a command more. There are many different optional commands for configuration of TechX Plus on switches or other devices of Cisco, but I just do the minimum required commands. Let's start. Like the Radius, first of all, we have to enable AAA to use its benefits with AAA new model. After that, I want to emphasize that I want to use TechX Plus for login to this device. So I use AAA authentication login default group TechX Plus. This command says to the switch that, switch, I want to use TechX Plus for logging to this device. Now, let's define our TechX Plus server, which is the ACS. So we say that TechX server and the name of our server, ACS server. We enter the IP address of the ACS server, address IPv4 192.168.1.11, and the key would be again Udemy @123. Again, remember that this key should be used in ACS too. Okay, since I want to use this type of authentication in Telnet or SSH, I have to configure the lines. So I enter line VTY 0 to 15 and say that login authentication default and press enter. We're done in our switch. ACS configuration. As you see, there are 4 steps. First of all, we have to create a device group. After that, create a device type, create a network device, and finally define or create a username. Let's do it. Now, we enter the ACS portal. First of all, we have to create our network device group. So here in network resources, I click network device groups and click here in location. Here we click create and name our location, for example, Udemy site. You could enter your description, and since these objects could have hierarchical structure, you could use the parent of this device. We leave it with all locations and click submit. We have Udemy site in our locations now. After that, we want to define our device type. Here again, I click create and I say that I want to define a device group with name switch. Again, we have hierarchical structure, and we could select the parent device type. Again, we leave it all device types and click submit. Now we define our location and our device type. Now we are going to define our switch and click network devices and AAA clients. And here we click create. The name of our switch could be SW1 or any other name you want to choose for your switch. Here in the network device groups, in front of location, I click select and select Udemy site and click OK. And in front of device type, I click select and click switch and click OK. And now I enter the IP address of my switch, which was 192.168.140. You could use IP ranges as you see. Now you want to use TACAX Plus. As you see, you could use Radius or TACAX Plus. The shared secret, as you remember, was Udemy @123. Sorry, Udemy @123. And now we submit. Okay, after we define our location, device type, and network device, now it's the time to create our local users. So we click here in user and identity stores, and here click users. And now we click create, and here I use the username, for example admin. As you see, the user is enabled by default, and here I place my password, which would be Cisco, and click submit. And now we define our user in the local database of the ACS. Now it's a time of testing. So I use PuTTY, and here I enter 192.168.140, which is the IP address of my switch, and here click telnet and click open. As you see, the switch prompts me for the username, and here I enter admin Cisco. As you see, I log into the switch. Again, I click enable, and the password is Udemy @124. As you see, I don't have any username with the name of admin here. There is no any other users, and the switch uses the ACS for authentication. You may ask a really interesting question now, and it is what the switch could do if the connection between the switch and the ACS server is disconnected with any causes. If the connection between the switch and the ACS server is disconnected with any causes, you could not log in the switch. Oh, it is very bad. What could you do now? We could change our configuration a little bit. And now I do it. We go to the global configuration mode, and in our AAA login, default TACAX Plus, group TACAX Plus. After that, I enter local. It means that switch, if you do not reach the TACAX Plus after 2 times by default of try, use the local database of your username and password for authentication of the users. So we could use this command for keeping our connection in emergency situations. You may ask another question: is there any trace of this login in ACS? And my answer is definitely yes. In ACS portal, you could use monitoring and reports section. Here launch monitoring and reports, and here in catalog and AAA protocol, and use TACAX authentication report here. And as you see that at the final time it was 8:37, the user is logging. The username was admin and the device name was SW1, and the logs which are in green means that they were successful, and the logs in red means that they were unsuccessful. If you click here in details, you could see more details about this login. As you see, the username was admin and the computer which the user logged into the switch was 192.168.1.9 and many other information about this login. We are done. It was very simple, as you see. Now let's wrap up. In this lecture, first we made a quick review on our scenario. After that, we made our switch configuration. And at the final step, we did our ACS configuration. I hope this has been informative for you, and I'd like to thank you for viewing.